Over the past few months, my local Dollar Trees have been getting more and more yarn in and adding different colors and styles, and I was excited to have a chance to play with this Just Cotton. I'm Michelle, this is my Romantic Tangle, and let's swatch up some Just Cotton from the Dollar Tree. When I first found it back in November, it only was available in some solid colors. I know there was an orange and a brown and the purple and the white that I've got here, or natural. It's not a true white. And I bought some and I was excited to knit it up, and the holidays struck and life was busy, so it has been sitting in my knitting bag until this last week when I went and saw these two-toned red and white and more of a brownish red and white. I think there was also a green that I didn't pick up. I have been looking at Hobby Lobby and I love this cotton that comes in a similar color that I have wanted to play with, but never quite got around to buying. So that was what it took to push me over the edge and get me to cast on. This yarn comes in a 104 yard skein. It is 18 stitches for 4 inches, which would make it a worsted weight according to what I looked up, but I think this is a little lighter than that myself. I thought that I was stitching with probably larger needles than the yarn called for, but it does say 8. And I think that is what I used, or close to what I used. My vintage needles are not labeled. But I'm very happy with the way it worked up. It is a little splitty. If you're using sharp tipped needles, it is easy to go between the plies of the yarn. Not a deal breaker. This is not as tightly spun and not as thick as the Peaches and Cream or Sugar and Cream that I would compare it with. It's a thinner yarn, but for a craft store cotton yarn, I think it's perfectly adequate. You're probably not going to knit yourself a fancy shawl or blouse out of it. You can knit whatever you want. I would think this is more of a craft yarn myself, and it is. It's loosely spun, or not loosely spun, loosely plied. It's not that floofy stuff. It's just easy to get the tip of your needle in between the strands. I knitted myself an almost lost washcloth, a pattern I found at Simply Notable that I will link to in the description box below. It is short rows and knit in wedges that then you seam together into a round washcloth. I love patterns like this. And it is soft and it is squishy and it has everything I'm looking for in a cotton washcloth. I think this red would be great for crafting. Maybe for Christmas ornaments. I could actually see doing a baby hat or sweater out of this. A small project that I don't expect to last forever. I did have just enough yarn to get 2 washcloths out of one skein. I thought it was going to be nip and tuck, but I probably had at least 10 yards left over when all was said and done. And I know in my last review where I talked about the just worsted acrylic yarn, I didn't think the price was great. I have since then been back to Joann's and Walmart and looked at what yarn costs these days. I very much scaled back my yarn buying over the past few years, and honestly, it's a better deal than I thought it was, especially for the cotton, because I think Peaches and Cream, they're larger skeins, but I think it was $4 last time I looked. It is not as cheap as it used to be. So I like the Just Cotton. I will buy it again. I will knit all this up, probably into dishcloths sooner or later. I'm not in a big hurry. It's decent yarn from the Dollar Tree, and I'm happy that I found it, and I will keep checking back to see if they add more options for us. Thanks for watching. I'm Michelle. This is my Romantic Tangle, and I'll be back with you with more videos soon.